Hello. Welcome to the show. Thank you guys so much for checking out the episode. Make sure that you hit the like button, subscribe, share, all that kind of good stuff. We are streaming on a couple of different platforms there. Myself and Dr. Anita are on. So make sure you guys hit the like button no matter where you're watching from. So we got a special requested episode here, and I appreciate the fellow PhDs coming back here and sharing their wisdom and their knowledge and all that. So without further ado, let's get to them. If you would, Dr. C, just give us a little refresher about who you is, who your people is, and where you come from, and all that kind of good stuff.
Hi, I am Chikima Carmack, also known as Dr. C or just CC. I am an associate professor at the University of Houston in the Psychological Health and Learning Sciences Department. I am a community psychologist by training.
Very good. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Dr. Kelly?
Yes. Hey, please call me Damien. I am a researcher like CC. We've done like 4 or 5 different projects together. We met at University of Houston. I did close to 2 decades in social services, working with low-income communities, homeless communities, and I literally switched from social services to social science once I got my doctorate. So my research is really just big community-based research. Whatever the community is talking about, we're here to listen, and that's what we do our research on.
Very good. Thank you so much. Miss Anita?
Good evening. I am Anita Stoudemire, licensed professional therapist here in Central Virginia. I am also the founder of the Better Love Movement. That is my online coaching platform and content creation here on YouTube, on Instagram, on Facebook. And it is a pleasure to join our esteemed panel tonight.
Thank you so much for that. Obsidian, I'm just seeing your subtag line there, the semi-professional pest.
Yeah,
go ahead, brother.
Yeah, that kind of stuck when I was a kid. Anyway, my name is Mumia Obsidian Ali. I'm considered one of the 3 kings, so to speak, of the Black manosphere. Me, Angry Man, and O'Shea formed it up a decade ago. Well, actually 11 years ago, summer of 2015. So I'm considering one of the founding fathers of that online. 6 years ago in 2020, well, 5 years ago, 2021, myself, Theo Waff, and Shannon Rawls, we formed the Black Manosphere Conclave, which is an annual gathering of Black men from around the world, united in excellence in all things. And we've been doing that now continuously for 5 years, offline, outside, touching grass. I am the author of 4 books. The most recent one being the Gospel of St. Kevin Samuels, which is what we're here to discuss tonight, the life and times of my good friend and dearly departed brother. I'm a podcaster, a hero to some and a villain to others, and I'm also a semi-professional pest.
All right. Well, maybe by the end of this episode, you'll be a professional pest.
Yep.
So we had the 2 doctors on to discuss the work that they did. I'd like for them to give us a refresher. Either Dr. C or Dr. Kelly can give us a little bit of a refresher of the work and why you did it, and where the work is going today. If one of you wants to take that.
Yeah. CC, you want to jump in?
No, go for it.
Okay. I think last time we talked about this, we discussed the origins of what we were doing, and we were at a research symposium. And if you guys are familiar with those, they are just a place where researchers gather. They show posters, they have presentations, etc. With that said, very boring. You're standing there, you're waiting for people to come talk to you, engage with you about the research you're doing. No one's really talking to us. We just started having a conversation, and somehow, some way, Kevin Samuels came up, and we were playing with the idea of like, it'd be cool looking at some qualitative stuff with Kevin Samuels, because when you drop his name, people still think of the buy a dog, die alone, all the buzzwords, all the catchphrases, but he was so much more than that. I would tell people, personally, I saw Kevin do so much in two spaces. A, to normalize the need for mental health and mental health services within African-American space. I had never heard politicians, preachers, anyone speak of that until Kevin Samuels did. And the other thing I believe he did as well was he did wonders for African-American males' self-esteem by letting us know, hey, these are what you're bringing to the table. This is who you are. He sometimes do like income range and stuff like that. And I swear, when I sent Kevin stuff to other people walked 6 inches taller because he raised their self-esteem so much. So that pretty much was the genesis of the project. And we started working on this, and we started finding some cool things, and we decided, let's do the paper, and we sent it out. And thankfully, Anita was like, hey, let's talk about this. So she decided to have us on, and here we are now.
Very good. Appreciate that. Let me see here. What do I want to say? I certainly appreciate it, the work that you've done. And I do agree that Kevin Samuels did a lot for the esteem of African-American men. So I definitely appreciate that. I wanted to give it to Obsidian for a minute here. I want to ask you about the book that you just put up.
Oh, yeah.
You were so nice to give me a copy. What made you decide to write the book? What made you decide to write the book? And just tell us a little bit more about the project.
First of all, I didn't get a chance. I don't think I got a chance to mail out Dr. Damien and Dr. Cece their copies.
I didn't want to say anything. I was waiting for that.
I thought it too. I was like, I want mine.
I'll see to it that y'all get ebook copies as well, so you can search through the computer and stuff like that through it. But to the genesis of the book. So
yep, I got mine. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm glad that you enjoyed it.
Yep.
So I know Obsidian, he's out in Europe.
How the book came about in the spring of 2022. So this was before Kevin passed. This was actually on Easter Sunday, 2022. I pitched Kevin an idea. I said, listen, people are kind of starting to play. Well, I'm telling them my age here. People are starting to play a game called telephone with your videos, right? It's they'll see a snippet of you on TikTok that'll be about 60 or 90 seconds, and then they'll just jump out the window with that. And his shows were long form content by design, and so you're looking at an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours, 2.5 hours long, and they're taking these real small snippets and kind of going off into the wild blue yonder with it. And I thought that was really dangerous. And I said, listen, somebody needs to take all of your major talking points and compile them in book form so that it's down, so-called on wax, so to speak. And if people agree and disagree, that's fine, but they know exactly what you talked about, why you said it, what you meant. It needs to be a chronicle of that. He's like, yeah, man, that's a great idea. You should do it. So I was like, okay. So we talked that was the last time that Kevin and I talked. We would talk every day from early 2020 until right before he popped off. Early 2020, that would have been like just as the pandemic was arriving in the United States, February, March, thereabout, up until Easter Sunday, 2022. That was the last time I spoke to him, and he died about a week and a half, 2 weeks later. And I was devastated. I was in a very, I've experienced death before. Both of my parents died at a relatively early age. My father died 6 days after my 30th birthday. My mother died right before my 34th birthday. My grandparents passed away. One of my cousins was murdered. Death is not unknown to me, but Kevin was really different. And I was dealing with with several years of grief behind that. And I put on a strong face for the public, but I was in a real serious funk and depression behind that, and a lot of grief. So the conclave, our fourth conclave in 2024 in Houston, took place. And I had been trying to write the book, and it just kept resisting me. And after I got home from Houston, a week later, it all came tumbling out. 26 chapters, 418 pages, 70 pages plus of endnotes and references, all the other things that make a book a book. Did it all in just 90 days. Started on Friday, September 13th, wrapped up on December 16th, if I remember correctly, 2024. Knocked it out in about 90 days, thereabout. And then, I conceived of it to look like a Bible. Because, I called Kevin, everybody else called him like the Godfather. I nicknamed him Saint Kevin, and it kind of stuck. So that's the whole idea. Plus, he was pretty devout. And I'm not a Christian myself, but he was pretty devout. So I thought it would be pretty cool to do up a book like this. And we really pulled out all the stops to do it right. The people have likened it to a Bible. So that's pretty much how it all started out. A lot of his work is not known to the general public because, he only became famous as he was addressing Black women. But a lot of general public don't know that he actually started out talking to men, Black men, and he was very no holds barred. And so this book captures the last 5 years of his life. So from roughly 2017 to 2022, roughly last 5 years, which is the time I knew him in that frame. And we became real close. And the first half of the book is devoted to Black men. And the second half of the book is devoted to Black women in that, or that's the order that he did things in his life. So I tried really hard to capture Kevin's ideas in his own words, and then I add my own commentary to it, but I try to put him out in front. So that's pretty much how it all came about. This is what we call the special conclave edition. We have plans to do a mass paperback, but this came out in the special conclave edition, hardbound leather, gold leaf all the way around, gold, paper edges, ribbon marker and all that. This is not sold in stores. You can only get it from us or me. And we did it originally for Black Manosphere Conclave members in Miami last year, and they flew off the shelf. So I had some left over. I got about 50 left, and people have asked me, am I going to do another run? I have no idea. I don't know. So still got 50 left. If anybody sees it and wants to grab a copy, just let me know, and we'll arrange it.
Very good. Appreciate that. You brought up a good point, and that was Kevin's passing. And I don't recall if we talked about this and how that impacted you all. So I'd like to start with Dr. C, if you want to talk about his passing and how that affected you.
So I think it was a shock. It was a shock. I had been watching him for some time at that point. It was actually a girlfriend that turned me on to him. And she was very, one of those irate kind of about it. So once she would show it to me, I'd say, oh, okay. So what's the excitement? What are we upset about? And so she and I would get into these discussions about it. And so that's kind of how I was initially introduced to him. I found out about his passing. I wasn't that into it at that time. After his passing, I really got into it, just more in depth. I think before that, all I saw was the sensational social media clips and, the quote unquote insults and whatnot. But I'm always one to go back to the whole thing. You know, I don't, as I think someone said about the sound bites, I'm not a sound bite. I want to go to the source. I want to see the whole long form. And that's what I would do. And a lot of it, I really agreed with it. So in the passing, you know, I think I was sad. I can't really remember specifically how it happened or what. That stuff is not really in my repertoire. But since I've gone through, even before, I think this is how me and Damien ended up doing the paper and kind of collaborating on it and talking about it at that conference he mentioned, because I had dove deep into it. And I know people say the silent minority, but I think there's also a silent majority of women who completely agree. And so that's what I would have to say about it. I loved almost everything that he said. You know, I do have my own opinions and not everyone is going to agree, but the philosophies that he had about adult African-American relationships, about the observations he had on women's behavior that I see too. There's a whole group of us that are not, but there's a whole group of us / them that are. So, yeah.
Very good. Dr. Kelly, your thoughts?
Yeah, so I concur with what Cece was saying. I was actually devastated when Kevin passed. So I started my doctorate program in 2019, and right around COVID is when, you know, Kevin really blew up. So everyone was listening to him. So I would be working on my dissertation and stuff and have him on in the background. I sent you guys an email, my setup. I have multiple screens. So I'd have him on one screen and doing my work on the screen and have research in the other one, and just really just going back and forth. And what's so fascinating is that Kevin died Cinco de Mayo. That's a big holiday here in Texas. We're out in Southeast Texas. I defended my dissertation May 6th. I heard about Kevin passing that morning at 9 o'clock. I defended at 10. If you go back and watch the video, I was shook. I was like, man, surely they're just a joke. You know, every time, you know, there's always this celebrity passed away. It turns out they didn't. So I'm scouring the internet and stuff, seeing if this is true. And sure enough, it was. So my plan was to send him a personal thank you after I defended, to say, thank you so much for getting me through this process. It's a very long, hard process, but you got me through this just listening. And again, did so much for Black men's self-esteem. And I'm gonna send him a nice thank you with a huge super chat. Thank you so much. And his passing kind of put a kibosh to that. So I think by us doing this work, I think that's our way of saying thank you now.
Absolutely.
Very good. Anita?
I remember it took about a week to really confirm like what happened, because I agree that, you know, when these things are first reported, you just don't know what's real, right? Especially online. You really don't know what's real. But I think after about a week, when we had confirmation, and I want to say the family, because that's what I was waiting for. I was waiting for the family to confirm what happened, and I hadn't heard that. But when the family confirmed that this happened, it's a tragic loss. I mean, Kevin and I are both Gen Xers. We have a lot of similarities. You know, he's born like 3 weeks after me. And we had a lot of similarities in the things that we talk about, especially when we're talking to women and advising women. So I didn't agree with every single thing he said, but I would say 90% of it I did. And there are things that I still say to this day. So it is a tragic loss. And he was on the precipice of like doing movies, like he was on the precipice of something bigger. And it's just really unfortunate that his death came when it did, because he had a lot of big things in the works.
Yeah. Our plan for tonight is to cover one of the videos that he expressed. And his passing hit me so hard, I haven't watched him since. I have not watched any of his content since. So it was difficult for me to get through the video that we're going to watch, because I agree with all the sentiments that have been put up here thus far. He was a big advocate for Black men, for Black families, and I respected that. And I think that was something we absolutely needed. And people often forget, as was already mentioned, that for almost 3 years, he spoke to men first before he started talking to women. And so, that'll tell you about where we are as a society, where if you start speaking to women, that will get their attention, where speaking to men, in particular Black men, will not get your attention. The comments are going, and I try to put a lot of things on the screen as well. But I do want to say thank you to AJC for the $20. Another doctorate holder. He was on my show as well. And he's $20 for the entrance fee. If you want your comment on, or if you have a specific question, the best way to get our attention, or my attention, because I'm the one putting them on the screen, is to hit the super chat, and we will make sure that we get to you. So the last time we were on, it was all of us minus Obsidian. So I want to give him a chance to ask a question, or if he had a certain comment before we start reviewing the videos.
Yeah. I thought it was just me. I cried a lot when I wrote that book. I cried a lot. I had to take crying breaks. And so I thought it was just me, but I'm glad to know that it just wasn't me, because reviewing his work, it's really strange. It's like Kevin almost never left. Because you go online, I mean, he's constantly, online all the time, now 4 years on, intense, debates still rage on about Kevin, you know what I mean? So it's almost like he never left. It's really surreal, you know what I mean? So when I was writing the book, I felt the same way you did, Doc. It was very difficult for me to, the shock of it. Like, I can't believe he's gone. I mean, it was really messed with my head. But to the PhDs here, Dr. CC and Dr. Damien, I'm really interested, because there has been, and I know you all know about this, on the white side, inside the manosphere, adolescence, other, Netflix documentaries. There are other academics. Scott Galloway is an academic. He teaches out of New York University. He's been talking on the white side of the fence. There have been other academics, Rob K. Henderson, William Costello, several other white academics on the white side doing a lot of talk on the manosphere, on the white side of it. And there has been a few Black academics who have covered it, but in my opinion, and I've read their work, it's very much narrative first, information second. Your paper, in my estimation, was the first paper that I've read about the Black manosphere in general, and the first I've ever read specifically focusing in on Kevin Samuels that was actually even-handed. I was really curious about how did that happen?
So the paper, how the paper happened.
Yeah.
So after we had we realized our commonalities, and that we both, subscribe to a lot of the philosophies of Kevin Samuels, Damien was like, well, I wonder if we could, just kind of summarize what he had to say and what that actually meant for African-American relationships, millennial relationships in particular, runs kind of the gamut of those individuals, those women and men that he would talk to. So Damien was very interested in, well, what does this have to say in a social science sense? So not what we think, not what we, the parts that we like, the parts that are funny, the parts that are entertaining. No, what was the real message here? And so as a researcher, we have various methods that we can use to take speech, the written word, and analyze it in terms of what the meaning is, not what the sensationalism of it is. What did it mean? And on top of that, what does it mean for African American relationships right now and in the future? So that's kind of how it came to be. Those results that you'll see in the paper, that you'll read in the paper, that was not our opinion. That was based on a strict methodology of what these words mean, what they convey, and how we interpret them scientifically. So it put this social phenomenon into a scientific context. And Damien, if you want to add.
I concur. So I always tell people that, and Cece's probably tired of me saying this about her, but she is the John Lennon to my Paul McCartney. So I might have a couple verses or maybe a tune in my head, but she'll actually turn it into a song. She will actually get the chorus and make it work. And now we get to be here talking with you beautiful people. So we really collaborate a lot in that kind of sense. I think how I explain it to most folks is there's a scientific way we do it. However, at our heart, Cece and I are both artists, and qualitative really is a mix between art and science. So when I say that, there's a lot of subtext to what Kevin was saying. And I think sometimes that was missed on people. I'll give you an example just out of pop culture. There was a lot of subtext in that movie, Sinners. You can write it off as just it's a vampire movie, but everyone on this platform knows it meant much more than.
It's excellent film, excellent movie.
Fantastic. It's one of my favorite. I'm a huge horror person, but I love all the subtext that came along with vampires, the ethos, etc. There was a lot of subtext with the things Kevin was talking about, but a lot of people would just blow it off as like, "Oh, buy a dog and die alone," and like, no. He said that, but there was so much more meaning with what he was saying, what he was trying to convey. And unfortunately, his life was cut short, so he did not get a chance to fully articulate himself with some of the things he was trying to tell our people about. This is what's happening in our community. This is what we're seeing. And what's great about, I think, the episode we chose is, we didn't get to explore this in the paper. With the paper, the episodes were chosen at random, so we couldn't just pick our favorites. It was just, hey, this is what the algorithm chose for us to look at, so that's what we're doing. But with this one in particular, the one that's talking about winter is coming, and we're in that space now. We're in the fallout. That episode aired, I want to say, close to 4 years ago. Yeah, and here we are right now. So Kevin had this prophetic way of looking. Hey, this is where we're going. What are we going to do about this? And now we're still in this space. What are we going to do about relationships? Do we still even want relationships? What does that look like going forward? Now that we're in this space to where you have mass layoffs, you have AI here, we have more wars overseas. What does it look like to be a couple, to weather these storms? Is this just a temporary blip, or is this a reset for the upcoming future?
Very good, very good. I appreciate that. Make sure you guys out there in the audience hit the like button. We have well over 100 folks watching. Make sure you hit the like button, and if you want my attention in particular, make sure you send a Cash App or super chat. Obsidian, did you have another question?
No. We can get right to it because I know the ladies have limited time, so let's get right to it.
All right. So yes, you're absolutely right. So I did have a question, a therapist question. Let me ask Anita because she has to go as well. And I believe that Dr. Kelly may be able to get in on this. I want to know from a therapist perspective, since you're a resident therapist here, why do you think that so many women wanted Kevin Samuel's opinion? They would call into a show night after night. Why do you think that occurred?
Most women, especially the women in our community, if there is no strong masculine father in the home, they have something called father hunger. And this is most of our women. They have a father hunger. And so there is a space inside of every woman that wants the wisdom of an older, wiser man, whether it's an uncle or a father or a grandfather. A lot of our women, they don't have access to that. They don't have a father. They don't have a grandfather or an uncle. A lot of our women have unfortunately been the victim of sexual assault in their family. So I think it speaks volumes about our community and our women that they did. You know, here is Kevin. He's well put together. Like, how often do you get to talk to an older, like sharp, well put together, well spoken? Like a lot of these women that called in, they had never seen this before. And so that's the draw is, okay, let me ask him. And even if he hurt their feelings, you know, they took it. But a lot of our women have a father hunger. They've never seen anything like him before.
I completely agree and you know, respect that explanation. That's real in our community, right? We all grew up seeing it all around us, men and women, boys and girls. But Anita, what do you think about women who sometimes I saw that the women were calling in with a bit of a smirk, kind of they wanted this validation, and maybe that goes back to what you were saying anyway. They needed this validation from a strong, successful man, right, or male. They didn't have it at home or growing up or whatnot. But I saw that a lot of them, just as many called in, you know, just I don't for fun, for validation, because she's clearly, you know, regular pretty to us, and so he's supposed to give her some validation value, and it's like, no, you're not even in the league that I've seen, you know. So yeah, that was fun. Yeah, interesting.
I do think there are a lot of different variables with why people would call in, which I think both of you are kind of alluding to. I agree with both of you. I would probably expand that to say some people probably did call. This was maybe their 15 seconds, 15 minutes, that internet fame to get some, you know. I've always, whenever I watch clips from that show, Pop the Balloon, I was wondering, like, why would you go on that? What's the point of doing that?
You and me both, yeah.
Why would you do that to yourself?
I'm speaking for the fellas. I can't,
right.
The ladies have their own motivations, but as a black man, I'm like, why would you want to humiliate yourself like that as a black man?
Exactly. Yeah. So I do think there was some of that in there. You know, we live in the Instagram world where, you know, we will do our own humiliation rituals or whatnot to get whatever little fame we can grab at. So I do think there's that, as well as also it was free as well. There's very rare times you can get free advice on an objective person on what's going on with your life, how your looks are, what you're trying to obtain, someone who's just outside of everything you're doing. And Kevin had a great radar for cutting through the bullshit.
Yeah.
And he'd get straight to the point. So it'd probably take 3 or 4 sessions before a therapist can do that with you. Kevin would be like, okay, I got this diagnosis already. What I would actually love to do, I don't know how we're going to do this, but if you guys could help, that'd be great. I would love to do a follow-up with some of those ladies who were on the show and just give them a survey or something, to interview them and talk about, where are you now? This was maybe 4 or 5 years removed. Where are you now in this present? Did that advice help? Did it not help you? What happened? What was the aftermath? Are you married now? Do you now see things differently? I would love to kind of see where people are now post their interview.
I think that's absolutely phenomenal.
I did want to say one other thing quickly to follow up on your question, Dr. L, really quickly, about a minute or two. It was very, very obvious for me why the ladies kind of, you know, made a beeline for Kevin, because Kevin was immaculate. And he was living proof that a well-dressed brother will always do well. He was a well-dressed brother, tailored suits, and his camera work. It wasn't just what he was wearing, tailored suits, designer frame glasses, well-groomed and whatnot. That's a big part of it, but also everything around him was just so. So the camera work was just so, the mic work was just so, sound was just so, the music and editing was just so, the atmosphere was just so. As you can see, I've kind of channeled a little bit of Kevin here. You know, and he did. I guess you could call it the Kevin Samuels effect to some extent. Since his passing, there have been brothers, and I've noticed this. I was one of the things I was wondering. I said, now I want to see who's going to pick up where Kevin left off here, and then, you know, in terms of his verve, if you will. I want to see if somebody's going to pick up on it. And sure enough, there are a few brothers, not many. There's not a lot of them, but there are a few brothers. You see them showing up suited and booted. You see them showing up, you know, beyond just doing a car video, sitting in their car, Derek Jackson style, or guys who have look like, you know, basically an arcade that they're sitting in, you know, that type of vibe, but more of a what I would call Kevin Samuels vibe, more refined, you know, more mature. You can almost sniff the cognac, if you will. So there are brothers, I've noticed that. And you know what's really strange? So there have been a number, to be fair, I've heard a few guys, but they're mainly sisters. And they'll say, they mean it as a insult. So they'll say, yeah, you trying to be like Kevin Samuels. And I'm like, thanks. Wow, that's what's up. Great. You know what I mean? Because my thinking is, where are we as a Black American society? Yep. Where a brother is visibly, because you know there's been a lot said about brothers who talk a mean game and don't produce, brothers who are, you know, many sisters talk about brothers who have wasted potential. Fair enough. You see brothers actually making an effort to look better, to sound better, to be better, and that's a problem. What are we doing here? Yep. What happened? You know, so yeah, I think there is a kind of Kevin Samuels effect at work here.
So, Obsidian, first, thank you for the kind things you said about our journal article. We really appreciate that.
Thank you.
I have pissed some people off with that. It's interesting. You still have to kind of, when you talk about Kevin Samuels, you have to kind of mention it in hushed tones. It's still on that level because people still feel a certain kind of way. But to what you were saying, it actually brought back a memory. I remember when Kevin had that thing called Suit Saturday.
Oh, yeah.
And I started seeing brothers like at the mall or whatnot dressing in suits. I'm like, oh, man, they're Kevin Samuel fans. That's so awesome.
But yeah, there's a sister in the chat room. Yes, smell better. Yes.
Oh, dude, I probably dropped $300.
Yes, there it is. Smell better. Yeah.
I got it.
I bought one of those $75. I think I still have that. Yeah, I bought a $75 candle because Kevin said, "Hey, let's do this." I'm like,
no excuse. They smell good. Yes, we agree with that. Brothers are trying to level up across the board. So you know, I take it as a compliment when somebody, he's one of those Samuelites. You know, they have this phrase. I don't know if any of you heard it. They have this phrase online. Basically, they call you a Samuelite. So that's supposed to mean that you're a follower of Kevin Samuels. Now, thank you. I really appreciate that. You remind me of Kevin Samuels. Thank you. That's exactly what I'm aiming for. Thank you.
Okay. Is that a play on the word acolyte? Is that what that is? When they say Samuelite, is that a play on the word acolyte?
Well, like not only is it a play on the word acolyte, it's supposed to be an insult. So it's supposed, you know, you're kind of like just one step shy of being a cult member and that sort of thing, you know, all the negative connotations. But, you know, I believe that whenever life gives me a lemon, I make some really nice lemonade out of it. So I turn it into a term of endearment. Thank you. I really appreciate that. That tells me I'm getting closer there. I'm getting closer. That's what it tells me.
Yeah.
All right, very good. So right now I want to say hello to Dr. Dardis. She is a recent PhD grad, and she will be coming on the show, I think, at the end of the week. I think Friday or Saturday. I got to check my schedule. I should know the date. But anyway, so all right. So we're going to start playing some of the video here, and we got a bunch of time. So whenever you hear something that is intriguing, just tell me to stop it. But these, you know, as you guys send in a bunch of time stops, I do have some more questions for Miss Anita, but I want to get to a little bit of the video here. So here we go. Here, this is from his show, Winter is Coming. Let's see, is it on the stage here? No. Okay, hold on a second. All right.
All right, there we are.
Can you see it?
Yeah,
Okay.
there he
Yes,
is.
sir.
The master
Okay,
at
very
work.
good. Okay, so this is from the show again. Winter is coming, and we'll play a little bit of this here. Here we go.
You want to be prepared because bad things happen in the winter. Why am I saying winter is coming? Because, ladies, hot girl summer is about to be over. And like it or not, everything is coming to an end. For the last 2 years, we lived under a global pandemic, recession, job slowdowns, unemployment, all things that people have been able to avoid because of long-term unemployment, rent moratoriums, but all that is over. After June 30th, the landlords aren't being mean. They want their money. And I want you guys to understand that there are people out there today, and in particular, we're talking to the ladies, who have not paid rent since March of 2020.
Can you pause real quick?
August, the schools open. That means all those kids go back.
So basically what we were talking about earlier, those predictions of economic vulnerability is what we're living in right now. The job losses have not stopped. I know later on he talks about how many jobs, especially African-American women, have lost, but when it starts with our community, it goes everywhere else. So if everyone gets the flu, a cold, we get the flu, but it's also the reverse of that as well. You usually see this kind of hitting our communities first with the jobs we had, and then now it starts to trickle out into other spaces. So many people have lost their jobs, are now unemployed. Actually, I heard someone, I was talking to someone, and they were talking about ICE as well as Trump raising the age of the military to 42. And they were saying that these are basically just job program extensions, because for a long time now, ICE is the only people who are hiring. Every time I'm on LinkedIn, I see a new ad for ICE and hiring agents or whatnot, or come work at Homeland Security, etc. So many people are getting hit with these economic vulnerabilities, and they're really being left out in the cold, to kind of use a phrase he was talking about.
All right, so I see one of the persons here, Crew Fest was banned. Don't ban people, just time them out. Let's give them an opportunity. I was watching some of his comments. I couldn't really see everything though, but thanks to the moderators for at least stepping in. But please don't ban people, just put them on a timeout for a little bit. Anyone else had a comment after Dr. Kelly?
Not about that one.
Okay. That's the wrong one there. Let's see. This one? Okay, there we go.
That means there is no reason for you not to go back to work. And what's going to happen is so many women are going to go back to their jobs that they haven't been at for the longest, and they're going to find out that they have been replaced. Winter is coming. Yeah, the Night King. Yeah. The Night King. The Night King is the leader of the White Walkers. And it's an imminent threat. You can't kill these things because we can't kill them. They're difficult. They're almost impossible to kill. But why is this important? Because just like in any zombie movie, it's not something that can be avoided. Not something that can be avoided. It's something that is an imminent threat. It's going to happen no matter what. And no matter what you say about it, whether you like it, whether you don't like it, it's going to happen. So just like the rest of us, what have you been doing for the last year to prepare for winter? Have you been stocking your money? What have you been doing? And the reality is many people gotta admit, particular women, they gotta admit they've been doing nothing. They haven't saved any of that money. They've just been doing what they're doing because in our country, in the West, women have always been bailed out. Guess what? There's not enough money to bail anybody out anymore. Look at where the likes are, you guys.
Dr. L, pause real quick.
Yeah, I think I got to fast forward here to stop at this because people weren't hitting the like button. Yeah, I didn't start doing that. Go ahead.
When I was re-listening to what he was saying, when I was a kid, and I actually did this with my daughter as well. So there was that story that you heard, the story of the grasshopper and the ant. The grasshopper, would play all day while the ant was gathering things for the winter, getting prepared. to me, and at the end, when the version I heard when I was a kid was the grasshopper died because the ant would let him in. The version my daughter has is, well, the grasshopper got let in because the ant was very kind to him. To me, that what he's saying is also reminiscent of the story of Noah's Ark. And one of the things taken away from that is preparation. So when I hear the story of Noah and his ark, I always hear the story of Noah built the ark before the flood, before times got hard, before the rain started to fall. He was building the ark to prepare for what was going to be happening. I think in some ways, maybe not just women, but I think in some ways we've all lost that. Being prepared for what's going on, what's going to happen in our country. We are constantly on the verge of, whatever World War III they're talking about, and you're not knowing what's happening. We here live in Texas, so we have power outages now because of winter storms and storms that we never had because of what's happening globally when it comes to climate change. There's so much going on now that I don't think we're being prepared for anymore. It's almost as if we're being lulled to sleep and just accept whatever happens.
Yeah, there's a lot I could say about that, but this whole lull to sleep thing and being desensitized to politics and to everything else that's going on is really, really troubling. So that is in effect, the form of winter that Kevin was talking about. Let's get the likes up, y'all. Let's get the likes up. Anyone else?
Well, so I'm trying to bring it back to the relationship aspect. What does that, if winter is coming, I know he's going to get into it later in the clip. I know the clip is like 2 hours, so we probably won't get into all of it. But what does that mean for relationships? If winter is coming, he's specifically addressing women. Have you been saving? What do we think that meant?
Well, that goes to a question I was going to ask Anita, and I'm glad that you framed it like that. So this is a second question for the therapist. There is why don't you think that why didn't a lot of ladies think that he was serious? Winter is coming. Winter is a real thing. That economic times would always be, you're right, absolutely right about Dr. Kelly was absolutely right about the grasshopper and the ant. It's always going to be a good time. Never going to be a recession. Elaborate on the psychology about ladies who didn't take it seriously.
I mean, I think a lot of it's the generation, right? I have often spoke about the resurgence of AIDS and HIV, and a lot of these new people getting it didn't live through the first epidemic. I lived through the first epidemic where you did not hug, touch, eat out, none of that. We didn't know anything about this thing. And people were very much, shunned who were HIV positive or who had AIDS because we were afraid. No one wanted to get that. And people were dying at rapid succession if you did get it. And so it's just like now we're seeing people at spring break and people at the Houston rodeo and all this wild, madness and having unprotected sex and having multiple partners and having. I'm thinking, okay, y'all think AIDS and HIV is cured.
I could just get a pill. They have a cure for it, right? We could just take pills.
No. People in my generation, we're like, no, I don't play with that. I don't play like that. So I think it's similar. These kids, these younger women, they've never really lived through anything. And so in their mind's eye, they came up in a time where things are good. Like even the war now, they're just like, what's going on? Like, what is this? They've never had to prepare. They've never been through anything hard, but we are going to, we already have, but I think it's going to get harder. I think it's going to be shocking. And the fact that younger people now can't buy a home, economically, they're priced out of a lot of things that people my age, my parents' age, that was seen as normal. I'm living in my 5th home and my kids are like 5 homes, I can't even get one. So winter is definitely here because they're about to see that the things that Gen Xers and boomers took for granted, they're not going to have access to.
And then I'm sorry.
No, I'll say it. I look like you're going to say something. Go ahead.
So I was thinking of the bridge in that and how relationships work. If winter is coming, and no shade absolutely to single women or divorced women or women who have never married for very wholesome reasons, for whatever their personal reasons are, but women who refuse because they still want the affection and attention and adoration and work from a man, but don't want to couple in a marriage way. And I'm not even talking about the legal sense of marriage, because I do have a lot of common law friends who, and they are married. But just that attitude in women that I don't need a man. I don't hear a lot of men say I don't need a woman as much as I hear women say I don't need a man.
Yeah, I find that to be so reprehensible that ladies would speak this way. And listen, somebody put in a chat here about just modernity has unshackled ladies to a certain extent, where now I think that they're, to quote some other people, their minds are so open that their brains are falling out. So it's just a crazy way of looking at the world. And as you mentioned, men aren't speaking this way. Men aren't speaking. In fact, there was a recent survey in Britain that's demonstrating that. Actually, I'm going to do a show about this. That's demonstrating that women are now far more radicalized and have a far less positive view of men than men have towards women.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that earlier today. Yeah.
So it's really, really shocking to where we have gone through. And I've seen other Gen Zers, 25 and under, some studies by them saying they don't want a man, they don't think it's important, they don't want to have kids. It's really just surprising that all this is going on. So
it's very interesting that you bring that point up, Dr. L, because one of the biggest things that Kevin was known for, let me see if I can do it here. Yeah, that right there, that was one of his biggest taglines that he was known for. And what's interesting about the study that you just mentioned is that what they found, 61% of working class women in the United States had a positive view of men, but only 35% of women that were college educated did. So what's really interesting about this, and it just made me chuckle because it made me instantly think back to that incident with Kevin. And that's a big flashpoint in Black American Black love discourse, the idea that Black men don't care about Black women's degrees. Many Black women feel very aggrieved by that. I think it's a much more nuanced conversation that even there's no way you can have a nuanced conversation about that on YouTube. You can't do it. Right. That's part of the reason why I wrote the book. As a matter of fact, one of the chapters in the book is called "I'm a PhD," and I try to uncover and go into the nuances of all of that. And what's interesting about that study is that the radicalization that you talked about, Doc, the radicalization is coming from the academy today, which has become feminized. Helen Andrews, a white woman, white conservative woman, she wrote an article last year that lit the internet on fire called "The Great Feminization," how all of the major foundational institutions of American life have now become feminized in the 2010 decade. So in that, from 2010 to 2020, the journalism business, the legalist profession, the academy, all of them have now become majority female in the workforce, in those workforces in these areas. And so what has happened now is that a more feminine way of doing things has taken root now. And so that study that you looked at really is the tip of the iceberg. And it does kind of harken back to, once again, Kevin being so, Kevin said, there was a lot of things I didn't write about in the book. but I'll share one of them right now. We were having a conversation one day. He would call me every day. We would talk anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour and a half. It's with the one exception of our final conversation. It was almost like a Sermon on the Mount type of thing. And I'm not a Christian, but it was really, really eerie. The whole thing still kind of gives me chills up my spine. It's almost, I got the sense that Kevin kind of knew it was coming to an end. But anyway, I'll talk about that later. The main thing I wanted to say was, he said, the Black manosphere is anywhere from 5 to 10 years ahead of everyone else. And at the time, we were still mainly on YouTube. We since spread out, to other social media platforms. But he said, yeah, you got all of us, we're 5 to 10 years ahead of everybody else. In 5 to 10 years from now, everybody will be talking about what we're talking about right now. And look at what's going on right now. Like, for example, the 80-20 rule. Let's look at that. So 80%, this is a term of art, not science. It's taken to mean that 80% of the women are gunning for 20% of the men. Now, that's not the exact number, but it's very close, because if you look at dating app studies like Hinge, Tinder, even Bumble, the majority of the women, a clear, 60%, 70%, they're gunning for a small percentage of men. They're openly, Scott Galloway, all these people are openly talking about it now. Now, we've been talking about this in the Black manosphere for years. People say, "Oh, you just mad because you can't get laid, or you ugly or whatever. You got bad breath, whatever." Now everybody is talking about what we're talking about now. I mean, I've isolated like 13 specific talking points that came out of the Black manosphere that pretty much everybody is recognizing is a real thing now. So that kind of goes back to what Kevin told me that day about how the Black manosphere is actually ahead of the curve in so many ways. And it is kind of scary too. I see a lot of stuff that happens. Like, damn, we was talking about this back in the 2010s, and now everybody's kind of catching on to it now. So yeah, really strange.
Very good. We're going to continue on. Dr. C, are you good, or you have to?
I'm still good for now. Yeah.
Okay. Very good. Okay. So this was another time mark at the 30:03 mark. So we'll play it here till we get up to that point. And again, just stop me whenever you want me to go.
Image. Oh. So I find it funny when
Sorry, I got to remember to put this on the screen here.
critics and detractors say how mean you are to women that you have no idea what a coach is. You want a nanny, and a coach helps you get better for an outcome. Anyway, as we move forward, he said he's been trying to tell folks that this global recession is about to happen. And what's about to happen has never been happened before, because we have had people who haven't had a job, who haven't had work for over a year and a half, haven't paid rent for over a year and a half. And they're going to go back and find out they've been automated. They've been downsized. Companies haven't lost a lot of money. And in September of 2020, we had something called a She Session where we lost 880,000 jobs that are female. I'm going to have lots of data this week because you guys, you think that it's not going to happen. You think there's going to be some kind of bailout. There's going to be something else. There's going to be nothing. People right now are being put on the streets. In Dallas-Fort Worth, the constables are moving people out, putting their stuff on the front yard. You want to know what's coming, ladies? They're decriminalizing the oldest profession in the book. In New York City right now, the governor, the mayor said, we're not going after people who are loitering the streets. So, like it or not, some parts of Manhattan, some parts of the 5 boroughs have been turned into right there in the streets. Go to World Star, you'll see the video yourself. Broad daylight, transactions happening on a stoplight. Guess what? That's New York. Guess where else it's about to come? California. States across the country, because why? There's not enough money to give to people. And if you're a woman and you have a regular job, you know, let's just look at it. If you were not an essential worker during the pandemic, you are at risk. I was in Neiman Marcus the day they shut the world down, and I had never seen panic like that before. And all those women's eyes, because many of them have been with that company for 10, 15, 20 years. All they had done is retail. Neiman Marcus is on the verge of bankruptcy, and the only thing that saved Neiman Marcus was the pandemic. Those women over there know they are coming back. And when the world stops again, many of these 40-year-old women are not going to have a job to go to and have no skills in the environment. Ladies,
Stop right there. Stop right there. Stop right there. That, Dr. Kelly, that was the point that you were speaking to earlier about the DEI job cuts first occurring with black women at the federal government level. This goes right back to what I was talking about, the black manosphere being the head of the curve. There you go. So he was talking about at the onset of the global pandemic, a high-end establishment like Neiman Marcus and the female staff being very concerned. And now we see, 5 years later, the situation happening with many, black women at the federal government level. Also, what has not been talked about anywhere near enough, because, to be fair, President Trump is a lightning rod, and I understand that. But the real silent kill here is AI. There are most black women that are in the professions, white collar professions. Let me back up and say it this way. A large percentage, I'm not going to say most, a large percentage of them are in the HR, human resources, administrative assistant area, or middle management. They're in one of those three. Typically, project management, so on and so forth. They're in that realm. Well, AI is primed to basically hollow that all out by the end of the decade.
Yeah.
So even if you took, which is substantial, even if you took the DEI piece, even if that hadn't occurred, you still going to have massive churn with the AI piece. We work in tech with the Black Manosphere Conclave. Our chief technology officer, Theo Waff, and he gave me some information. I almost fainted. By the end of the decade, AI will be generating worldwide almost $20 trillion with a T. 20 trillion by 2030. That's insane. I can't even imagine. I can't imagine 1 trillion, let alone 20. I mean, and so that part right there, and I saw the talking points that you wanted to get to, Doc, about basically the sex trade, for lack of a better way of putting it. Last year, Shannon Sharp was rumored, and I don't know if this is true or not. I have no way of confirming. I tried to see if I could. There's no. They closed-lipped on exactly what the amount was, but let's put it this way: the young lady that he was known to be keeping company with settled to such a degree out of court settlement. We don't know exactly what she got. We know this though. This is public information. She got enough of a settlement to retire from OnlyFans. We know that. That we do know. So I'm thinking something's got to be in the millions. I don't know exactly how much, but it's got to be in the millions there. So roughly 35% of American women 18 to 34 I got that. It's a high percentage of American women on OnlyFans, but I think like the vast majority of them are 18 to 34. So that's number one. Number two, with regard to what I call off the books arrangements. So for white folks, let's just do it this way. For white folks, you have things like OnlyFans. There's some black women on it, but it's mainly white. You have OnlyFans. You have Ashley Madison. I know y'all have heard of that one. You got Seeking Arrangement. There's another one. Now, black people, for the most part, you got a couple of them, but for the most part, black folks don't do this. This is what black folks do.
Right.
We got a text message.
Cash app.
Right.
Okay.
Some DMs.
You want to talk to me, you cash at me, $100 or whatever, and then you can talk to me, so on and so forth. I don't do a coffee date. There's another one. I don't do a coffee date. You got to take me here. I got to be flued out. Kevin talked about this. I got to be flued out. So these are essentially de facto, and I don't want to get Doc in trouble here, so I'm going to be very careful with my language. These are de facto propositions. Okay, they're de facto propositions. That's what it is. I predict that we will see I don't know the exact number, but there will be an increase in the black version of seeking arrangements, and it won't be from the people you think. There's a lot of ladies coming out of the DMV area that will be quietly amenable to an arrangement, and they will look a lot like, no disrespect, Dr. Anita, you kind of have a librarian look about you. The sisters that look like
me.
You'll never know.
Yep.
It won't be who you think it is. I mean, typically we think about this, we're thinking like, Cardi B, very glam.
No, it's no.
A lot of your stone cold killers like that, you walk right by them and they wouldn't be none the wiser.
Yep.
But see, my problem with that is that's not sustainable for majority of women. That may be age bound itself in the grand scheme of things, and we need to be making money as a man or a woman up until 60s now, I hear. So that's real. That's not sustainable, and the average OnlyFans right now is still struggling to pay bills. I see them on the true crime all the time. Getting arrested for this and that, and I know that there are a very small percentage that get hyped up, but this particular arrangement, it just isn't sustainable for practical reasons and for spiritual, mental reasons. That's not how our biology and our spirituality was meant to operate on a constant monetary exchange basis. So that's gonna, even if that is a temporary band-aid, that's still not sustainable. And 15 years down the line, when all of that is over anyway, because you can do whatever you want with the AI bot, that's gonna be over too. And then we're still, it still comes down to what principles, what philosophies are we teaching men and women to have good, sustainable relationships and keep making little people that are capable of having good, sustainable relationships?
Well, Dr. CC, with all due respect, I got to be careful with my words. There is an aid that the ladies have taken to called the Rose. And if you go to TikTok, that aid, if you will, has amassed over 100 million views.
Yep.
Okay. So I mean, the AI piece, my thinking is yes, that is a thing, and there is evidence for that. But that Rose.
Nothing is a real thing.
No man can compete against that.
I respectfully disagree. I may be in a minority, but I respectfully disagree.
Explain to me what that is.
It's also a band-aid.
I don't have a TikTok account, so can you explain what I missed something there?
Yeah.
I have to be very diplomatic about this because we got to be, YouTube pilot bureau. I don't want to get the good doctor in trouble. So there is an
instrument.
An instrument. Thank you. Thank you, Doc. This is what happens when you have smart black women on the panel. That's
why I work with her. That's why I work with her.
Instrument that the ladies make use of, and it's called the Rose, and it has been the ladies consider it highly effective. Okay.
So it's like a wand or something like that.
It may mimic the affection of a man.
Right.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
No, that's a stretch right there. Mimic the
affection. But it
doesn't.
Oh, Lord.
Okay. All right.
Before we leave, the whole subject, I'm hearing what you guys are saying about what's happening out with young ladies when it comes to maybe either legal or illegal, prostitution or OnlyFans. But you guys mentioned earlier also, and this impacts us because CC and I both live in Houston. The AIDS rates have gone out of control. So yes, the price of it may have gone down, but the long-term ramifications of that have gone up. So it seems like to me, you're just exchanging one for the other. I'll pay a less price for this, but now I'm a lifelong subscriber to pharmaceuticals because I got this.
Yep.
To me, it makes no sense. I'm like, no sense. I don't know if I'd go that route.
Interesting. That the Houston rodeo now, Kevin, he did kind of hit on this too. Now, while everybody was talking about, oh my God, look at how these ladies are dressed and so on and so forth. I went and crunched some numbers. Houston is a city of and I was there in 2024. Matter of fact, when I came back from Houston, that's when I wrote the Gospel of St. Kevin Samuels. So
next time you're in Houston, you got to come stop. You got to look you up, okay? We got to
we'll
go to
do.
range,
We'll do. I was downtown at the Four Seasons.
Okay.
For like a week and a half, something like that. So anyway, so the city of Houston, 2.39 million. The black population proper, about 550,000, just over 500,000. There are roughly 85 single black men age 25 to 55 for every 100 black women in that same age cohort. And that 15 number is enough to make what we just saw last month in Houston. When you have a sex ratio where there are more women than men, the clothes start coming off. That's the psychological effect there. The women start competing against each other for what they know men want, which is, I got to be diplomatic. Men want more access for, as Dr. Kelly said, more access for less investment. I'll put it like that. When you have more men than women, like they was in the Old West, for example, you had very few women and a whole lot of men. You know what men did? They were, writing away for mail order brides, and they were willing to, I'm trying to be diplomatic. They were willing to pay a much higher bride price. When there are more men and fewer women, men court more, they buy cars more, they buy houses more. They're willing to invest more. They're willing to do extended courting more with less access. I'll put it like that. So the sex ratios are very, very important. So that magic number is basically roughly 15 for every per 100 single black women in a certain age cohort. If per 100 there's roughly 15 less black men, that's when you start seeing hemlines coming up, necklines plunging, more and more skin showing, lots of red lipstick, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
So my question with that is, does that all of those symptoms, the hemlines coming up, the low cutting, is that to ensure the delay of winter? Because I still don't see them securing their winter bags.
That's a very good.
I was gonna ask the same question. Man, that's something that could really be explored at another time. We can certainly talk about it now. I'm just saying that's a whole nother show, because we are seeing that on TikToks and Instagram baddies, all this type of stuff, and they're not securing the bag. They're not getting that.
Well, what would happen in that scenario is no, and the reason why is, again, the sex ratio. So if you have fewer men, they have, and a lot more women, so roughly 15 per 100. In that scenario, they have less incentive to want to settle down. We haven't even factored in the 80-20 piece. So many, the thing I really loved about Kevin was just nobody has replicated it since. Tonight's conversation, they got their own thing going on, and God bless them for it. I know Ace personally, but it's not the same as Kevin. And the reason why is because unlike tonight's conversation where a sister will get up on the microphone and pose a question, and then a panel of people will give a response, Kevin was one-on-one with black women, and they would have conversations ranging anywhere from 10 minutes to over a half an hour. That's an eternity. And you would hear repeat. Kevin must have talked maybe to, I would say on average a night, Kevin would talk to about half a dozen women a night on average, half a dozen black women a night on average. And again, I would say about 20 minutes a piece on average, roughly. And he would ask them the same questions over and over again. And it's an undeniable pattern of what many black women prefer. They want a brother that's taller, not shorter. They want a brother that's more degreed, not less degreed. They want a brother that's more successful, not less successful. They want a brother with more disposable income, not less disposable income. They want a brother that's either has or is willing to get and then provide an upper middle class lifestyle, and all the trimmings, and the bedroom activity. Okay, that and so I'm trying to be diplomatic. So all of those things is very detailed and very distinct. What the ladies want. Now, if you're a brother that can do that, and you got a situation like Houston where just rank and file, it's 85 brothers for every 100 black women, and then you're a brother like that, where's the incentive for you to settle down? Where?
That's an interesting point there. Interesting point.
Can I pose
go ahead.
A quick question? Something that I think we've talked about, we mentioned it once or twice. We've used the term securing the bag. And it's, I guess, kind of goes to Obsidian's point as well as, Dr. Carmack's point as well. What if that definition has changed? What if it's no longer people worried about securing the bag, more or less renting the bag, because they know these arrangements are going to be temporary? Do you think maybe the focus has shifted to that?
I definitely agree with that, and I certainly give the panel a chance. My thought process while you were speaking, as well as Obsidian were speaking, was the competition isn't solely, when it talks about securing the bag. I like how you frame that. In my mind, it's not so much securing a mate. A lot of it has to do with your competition is the government, because the government has provided the jobs, DEI, how many women have been fired from DEI, et cetera. If you get pregnant, you got child support. If you get divorced, you got alimony. Some way, somehow. So that's another piece that has to be factored into why ladies are not so pressed to get married, in my estimation. But
you're right about that. And Kevin did speak to that. The whole winter is coming piece. He did speak to that, and he spoke to it in other contexts as well. Look, the old adage, you can't fight City Hall. And most black men are not going to be able to compete one-on-one against the government in terms of what they can do for a black woman. So Section 8 and all the things, all the way up to school debt, loan forgiveness, et cetera, et cetera. The rank and file brother just can't compete with that. They just can't.
Miss Anita, you anything to add? We haven't heard your voice in a minute there. Okay. So
my question was just, we have seen an uptick in sex work. We have seen an uptick in sugar babying, sugar daddying. We have seen an uptick in OnlyFans. All of these things exploded during the pandemic. And now I just wonder, is this something like, are these numbers going to keep rising? I guess that's my question. Do we see these activities, these numbers rising? I mean, this is the oldest profession, right? This has been all the way back to the Bible. But is this, and feminism is trying to destigmatize sex work, right? That's why it's called sex work now instead of prostitution. So I'm just curious to know, do you think this is something that's going to rise?
Well, Kevin had an interesting view, and he's gotten in some trouble in some circles for this. He had a very interesting view of independent contractors, if you will. His view was, his view was that certain brothers didn't have a dim view of it. They just saw that as just the cost of doing business. As a matter of fact, he would often refer to certain brothers, well-heeled brothers that are on Wall Street, brothers that, as he would like to say, senior vice president of mergers and acquisitions, brothers that are, IBM blue type brothers. They would just have that on the expense account. They would just say, okay, well, the travel and the conference cost and put under what my uncle would always call miscellaneous. That would denote the independent contractor there on the miscellaneous. You know, that would just be folded into the expense account. I mean, that's just what it is. So so I mean, look, I do believe that we're going to see a uptick of that type of activity. I do believe that.
So,
Very good.
Hold up. Is that coming at a time when now you have more men not wanting sex? When you're looking at the studies now with young men, they're having less sex. A lot of them are virgins until their 30s, etc. Some of them have made decisions to live without. Again, it's kind of that analogy I gave earlier. Like, yes, you have all this sex, but now you have AIDS and all these other STIs on the rise. Do you want to go that route? You can have I love how you put that, these independent contractors, but now you have less men looking to even engage in sexual activities with anybody.
But is it less because they don't want it, or is it less because they're looking at the juice not being worth the squeeze? That's what I think it is. They don't want to go into trouble.
I think they're one and the same. Yeah, for whatever reason, it's not. It doesn't seem sustainable. And I get the expense account thing. I get, every now and then I want a big juicy burger too. So you,
I give me expense account.
You go get one, right? That's not a euphemism. I'm actually talking about a hamburger.
She said she's actually talking about a hamburger.
Yeah. And so you put it on the account, whatever, you get it. I get that transaction, but that being on the expense account, it being is what it is. She's getting, I don't know, what is it, 500, 1,000, $40 in the club, whatever it is, that's not gonna be sustainable to keep you out of winter. You're gonna need $500,000 to retire. That's and so then to me, and I think that's okay. I think that the transaction is okay for willing sensual participants, whatever it is, and especially if it's legal and clean and all that. Okay, we can go that route. But in the grand scheme of things, I don't think it's going to protect these women from winter. If they don't, I'm going to leave it at
you
that.
have to be really frugal. I mean, we don't have to go into the specifics here, but if you're a very forward-thinking lady, and you kind of squirrel away, you could kind of finagle it. But yeah, I get your point. I mean, yeah, and Kevin talked about this. And he would ask the ladies, for those ladies who say, well, I don't need a man, strong, independent. Okay, that's fine. So we're looking at somewhere north of $500,000 by the time you're 60. Somewhere between $500,000 and $1.5 million. So pick a number somewhere in there to deal with your, golden years, if you will, between 60 and 90, let's say. And many of the ladies just had no. One thing that Kevin really is going to. I'm gonna. Please forgive me, ladies, for saying this. One thing that he really, and I don't think he set out to prove this, but it just kind of emerged organically. Many ladies don't really understand math very well. They really don't understand economic principles. And I'm not saying you got to go to, Wharton Business School. I'm not saying that, but I'm just they really don't understand. Like a lot of times he would ask these ladies, I know y'all seen it. He would ask these ladies, so how much a percentage of the bills every month would you like to pay? And they say that very few sisters went beyond 25%. Very few.
And he got to make $300,000.
Yeah. And they say, okay, well, would you like to take vacations out the country? Oh, yes. Would you like to have a 2-car garage? Oh, yeah. Would you like the children to go to private school? Oh, yes. How much do you think that would cost? Oh, I don't know. $100,000. No, you're looking at the better part of $500,000 easy. Yeah, easily $500,000. And that was before the events that happened just recently. This is back in 2020, 2021, early 2022. You bring the average house price as of last year, as of 2024, when I was in Houston, I did a breakdown for this at the Black Manosphere Conclave for brothers that want to get married. I said, okay, now you do realize what the ladies are expecting, right? They're expecting a brand new home. So let's look at that. That according to Forbes, 2024, the average brand new house price, $450,000 in 2024. Average. in the United States. That's right off the rip. The average ring cost, wedding ring, average $6,000 in 2024. The average wedding, according to the Knot, KNOT, the Knot, according to them, the average wedding, if you do it in the United States, $35,000. If you do it outside the country, about $60,000.
Oh no, sir.
Yeah. Average. This is average now. Average cost. This is the average. You know how like the ladies feel about that word average. The average cost. We haven't factored in car notes with an S, because you ain't gonna be sharing no car. She wants her car. You have she and hers. Car notes and insurance and AAA and dental and medical for you and her and the kids. We haven't even gotten to that. We just talking about the house, the ring, and the wedding. Mm-hmm. You already in for over $500,000, brother. Right off the rip. You can hear. We had over 400 brothers in the grand ballroom of the Four Seasons in downtown Houston. When I just rattled off those statistics, the PowerPoint. I love PowerPoint. The PowerPoint slide just rattled off the statistics. You could hear a pin drop. Like all the brothers that will go walk down the aisle, show of hands. You can hear a pin drop. Everybody was looking around like, "Are you going to do it? Are you going to do it?" It's like, yeah, that's the cost. So I think that a lot of ladies, what it really emphasized to me, what Kevin really emphasized, not all, but a lot of ladies really don't understand the costs of what they want. They don't understand how much that stuff costs. And I'm no cheapskate. I'm not a stingy guy or anything, but I mean, man, $500,000 in 2024. So it's over $500,000 now. It's not unusual to get a house now that's over $1 million. That is not unusual now. That's the vast majority of black men just cannot afford that. They just can't. They just can't do it.
So I'm not a statistician, but I do understand, and I want to acknowledge that yes, I see where you're at. The danger of looking at the average as opposed to the median. When you have these averages, you have people at the top who can buff up these numbers a lot. I'll be curious to see what the median income or what is needed, because CC and I, we don't make $400,000 a year. As BGS would say, we're poor righteous teachers, which I get he doesn't agree with, but I understand. But we have the things you're talking about, but we don't make that kind of money. Mm-hmm. So, and one quick thing, I did see Jeff St. James log in. Just want to say, there you go, just show all these brothers out in Philly. God bless y'all. There you go. How about them? But with that said, I'd love to kind of look at the data and kind of see what where they're getting their data from, but also something that CC and I did put in the paper. I think a lot of this is just people has these and some of this is, I think, is a social media. They have these crazy expectations of what they expect their partner to provide them throughout the rest of their life. $30,000 weddings, vacations overseas, $500,000 or $250,000 house. When did we get so? And I love what Kevin would always ask people like that, like, were you raised with that kind of money? Did your parents make this? Where are you getting this information? Where are you getting these expectations from? Mm-hmm. That you have sworn to God that you're going to love, honor, protect, and be with, thick or thin, is supposed to provide you this luxurious life. And if you don't meet all these expectations, we can't do this partnership. We can't be together. It's so fascinating to me where people kind of get their, but again, it kind of goes back to social media, that they may have seen someone have this and now I want this as well. What would you do with the $30,000 wedding? What would you do with a $10,000 wedding ring? All that's doing is putting a bounty on your head for the guy who wants to rob you now and take that ring off your finger. Will that really even make you happy?
Yeah. And I think my facet is kind of the other side of it. A lot of women, and I don't know if men, but a lot of women don't realize that you don't need that much to live well and live comfortable. if you know what you're doing with your money, if your husband or boyfriend or whatever, your partner knows what, if you all have financial literacy to know how to use your money, how to build assets, how to build these things in, especially if you have, a decent income. I don't think a lot of women today know what a decent and I'm talking about a certain age range, may not know what a decent income is. It's not $300,000 where I am, and it is also location dependent. I absolutely get that. The East Coast and especially the Northeast is incredibly expensive. California is incredibly expensive, but these are the outliers. Most of Middle America can live well off much, much less. And your women are, he has to make this, he has to make that. Understand finances first.
Yeah.
Speaking of finances here, let me get to some super chats here. Micah Malice, with the $5, I am writing a bill for the House. It is the Husbands Protections Act against communalism, making it illegal to borrow husbands to fix single issues.
Okay.
Is that a joke?
I guess.
It's terrible.
Ask a Brother podcast. Shout out to Jeff St. James doing some good work. He gave $5 to Anita and $5 for myself. Appreciate that, brother. Appreciate the work that you're doing over there. Let me see here, and I think that's it for that. Make sure y'all hit the like button. You guys good for time? I want to be respectful of you guys' time.
So I am going to have to jump off.
Okay.
I tried as long as I could.
Okay.
But we have to get things rolling. I have tests tomorrow, and seventh grade algebra is no joke. So we're going to go study before bedtime. But this was so great. I wish I could stay. We are going to definitely have to do this again, Dr. L. Maybe we could pull another one once a season or once by month or something. We need to do this again because I really enjoyed this conversation and really enjoy everything. I talk to me and Damien talk about this stuff all the time. But it's nice to get you guys' perspectives and have like minds that give me other perspectives and other facets on my perspective. So thank you all very, very much for having me. I do appreciate it. Mr. Obsidian, I'm waiting for my book.
I got to send those books out. Yeah, I will do that as soon as possible. Yes.
Absolutely. Okay. Bye guys. Thank you so much.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Have a great night. Okay.
She is so awesome. That's why I love working with her. She's one of my favorites. She's still on. Okay, there she goes.
Okay, there she goes.
But yeah, she's one of my favorite people to work with. We have different research projects that we do also, but when we work together, man, again, it's like Lennon and McCarthy sometimes. It's really good. And she does a lot when it comes to sexually transmitted disease in the African American space also. She has a lot of literature out there. So if you guys want to check out her Orchard account and look at some of her other publications that she has, I think it'd be highly impressed.
Houston does have a significant. I remember some years back, about maybe 3-4 years back, there was a syphilis outbreak, if you recall that, and that was it made national news, and I remember covering that. This would have been circa 2023, I want to say. So
it's because Houston now, we had that huge spring break thing. You had a lot of people from out of town coming, and I was like, when did Houston become a spring break hub?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's right there. It's right there in the Gulf. I mean, it's not that, it's. I can see it being that because, like I said, it's in the Gulf, so I can see how that could happen. Yeah. But
like Galveston's like maybe 45 minutes, an hour away from Houston, so you're gonna drive a bit just to get to the beach.
Right. And most of those people were above 22. They were above college age. So I don't know what kind of spring break this was.
Yeah. Well, like I said earlier, going back to the independent contractor question, I do believe, and we'll see if I'm right, but I do believe that you're going to see quiet it's going to be older Black women. It's not going to be younger. It's going to be older. So to your point, Miss Anita, I believe this will be more than you. There was a sister that Kevin talked about. She's an older lady. She's in her late 60s, early 70s at this point. But back then she was in her 60s. And she had went to Johns Hopkins, all the things, highly educated. And then she had an economic downturn. She made an arrangement with a brother. And he's, same age range and so on and so forth. And they got together. I don't know what became of them. But Kevin used that as a kind of precursor. Listen, we understand at a certain age, we're not going to have the butterflies in the stomach and all the stuff that you would have when you was younger. We get that. You got to figure out some kind of, if you don't already have the money, talking to the ladies, if you already don't have the means, we're talking somewhere between $500,000 to $1.5 million. If that ain't in the cards, you're going to have to make some kind of deal with some guy out there and listen. Maybe we can work something out to where we can kind of be under the same roof and kind of share expenses, so on and so forth. And he used that one sister as a jumping off point. I believe we're going to see, and it's not going to be, all over the gram and that sort of thing, but I do think we're going to see some quiet arrangements. I do believe that. Well, we'll see if I'm right between now and the end of the decade.
All right, very good. Are we ready to continue on here? You guys good? Or
Yep.
Okay. Yes, sir. Okay, very good. Let me put this on the screen here. All right.
Do you want to skip to 41 minutes and 6 seconds?
Sure.
Yeah.
Let's go back here. We'll start right here.
We need to reimagine the world that's been working this way for thousands of years in a generation. Oh, and the men who exist right now are going to pay for it. And don't you worry. You don't need to worry about getting married in the time where your body is best to do it. You can choose to decide to do it later on if you want to. That's what I'm saying. Black women, I'm not your enemy. This is what's been told to the West to get women into the workforce. Now they're done with you. They don't need you anymore. They don't need men to dig ditches like they used to either. Men understand you are still making it's about how much money you have. And if you are not making enough money to live through your retirement, no one can stay alone. At least men know the streets coming to work for us. At least men know this.
She belongs to the streets.
We know the streets is waiting for us, ladies.
Thank you. Go ahead and pause it there. It's echoing a lot of things we've talked about with structural inequalities when it comes to labor. One thing that I did, and I'm a huge movie buff. And do you guys remember that movie Falling Down?
Yes, one of my favorite movies. Kirk Douglas, circa 1993. Yeah,
Michael Douglas. Yeah, right around that time. Kirk was his dad. There's a scene in there where Michael Douglas is walking down the street and he sees the African American man with the sign protesting, saying we're not economically viable.
Yes.
That if you look at that scene, they are virtually the same person, just the skin tone is different.
Yep.
They have the exact same clothes on, white shirt, white cutoff, tie, pants, etc. They look exactly the same. Going back to what we talked about earlier, how it happens with us first. You saw this brother protesting because, like what Kevin's saying, hey, men, they don't need us to dig ditches anymore. We're no longer in these spaces economically viable. We have machines, maybe even immigrants to do this now. What happens? You see this brother protesting, and then you see the government come and take him away.
Yep.
Which is a precursor to actually what happened to Michael Douglas's character later on that movement.
Yeah, because he was a defense contractor. He worked for Lockheed Martin or whatever the defense contractors, and they basically laid him off. Yeah. And at the end of the movie, I don't want to spoil it for anyone, but at the end of the movie, the government comes and disposes of his character. Now, mind you, the brother that was taken off, you never hear from him again. He's never mentioned again. But again, he even says to Michael Douglas, "Hey, man,
don't forget
about me. Remember me."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think he said that because you are going to be me. Don't forget about me, because that's exactly what happened. Going back to what Kevin was saying, you have all these things happening in our communities where we are black, white, whatever, men, women are no longer economically viable. And they're disposing of us one at a time. And it's happening in the black community first, and now it's trickling over into white society now. Now they're having higher rates of out-of-wedlock births. They're having higher rates of either divorce or not getting married in the first place. You're seeing these things trickling over to them. And when we talk, we're doing the same thing that black guy did, saying, hey, don't forget about us.
And we always seem to be the canary in the coal mine, right? A lot of this stuff started in the 1960s, not becoming economically viable. What do they do with the excess population of black men? They put them in prison one way or another, even if it was just saddling them down with felony so they can't get good jobs. And so fast forward even till today, this is still going on. And as you mentioned, Dr. Kelly, this is what's going on in the dominant society now. You mentioned all the stats there, and I would also include their self-deletion rates also, considering that men feel as if they are unviable, you know. So yeah, let me get this in here. Thanks for the $50. Nowhere near enough what I owe, but from Gen Z to the righteous elders. Shout out to all of the docs and scholars. Shout out to BGS, Dr. T, Dr. Thunder, Dr. Gigi, Dr. Neil, our brother Jeff, and lovely and gracious women in this space as well. Appreciate that. Thank you so much for that. What are we calling? Let me get your guys' opinion here about what are we calling winter? What are we defining as winter? Because we mentioned two different things. One is the end in retirement. Do you have enough money for retirement? And I also hear Kevin also saying that we are defining it as what we just mentioned, job losses. And if you don't have someone to partner up with, it's gonna be real cold. So is it both? Is it either or what are you guys' thoughts about that? We'll start with Miss Anita. You make sure your microphone is working.
It is all of that. I think it could also mean men going their own way. I think that is a possibility. As you always say, Dr. L, the juice not being worth the squeeze, and men truly going their own way and not being bothered with women romantically unless it's a transaction. So I think it's that. I think it's the jobs. I think it's, not having funds to not even fund their very basic lifestyle, much less a luxurious lifestyle. So that is going to be very cold if men, we're already seeing it, men not approaching, men not showing up at singles events. We're already seeing that men are starting to quietly back out of all of this. And, I think that's when it's going to get real cold.
Yeah. There have been studies on, and I know you've all seen it. There have been, because it's been widely reported, I think Washington Post, but other news outlets in the country more broadly, like half of all young men in the country under 30 have never approached a woman in real life. They may have done it online, but they've never done it. They never walked up to a woman in real life. It's just that was kind of like mind-boggling to me. But it's taken me, because I'm a Gen Xer, so it's taken me a while to wrap my mind around the idea that you now have black people, in this case, black men, who has never seen a payphone before, or has never seen a landline phone, or can't conceive of a time before the internet. That's just not possible for them. And I think, and one of the things I've always been wary of weighing in on young people issues, because I was young, but I'm older now. I don't think I have the entree to do that. But when I really started digging into what's going on here, it really cemented for me to tread lightly, because and I hear a lot of older brothers do this. They make these assumptions for younger brothers. Like, give you an example. So I was in high school, right? I saw this girl. I'm not gonna say her name, but we'll call her Nancy. So I saw Nancy. September, we going back to school. I was in like 10th grade. I saw her on the quad. I said, I'm going to get her. That's the one right there. So what I did, I went shoot my shot. She shot me down. I said, no problem. I went back the next day, shot my shot. She shoot me down. No problem. I went back the next day. I saw her in the cafeteria. I saw her in the lunchroom. She was with her girlfriends. Here he comes. I get him, shoot my shot. She turned me down. I said, I'm going to come back every day until she goes out with me. And that's exactly what I did. I asked her out every day that year until May, when I finally broke it up. She said, all right, I'll go out with you. We ended up going out for like 4 years behind that. Now,
okay,
you can't do that today.
no.
You can't do that. They'll call that me too.
Yep.
You know, so when I listen to older guys, oh man, you just gotta shoot your shot. Listen, that era has, you know, you could debate whether or not I was just like, I'm gonna go get her. You know. So you can't do that now. Young guys cannot do that. They will mess around and get locked up.
Yep.
If they did what I did. That's the reason why I had to check myself and wait a minute. Do you really want to advise younger guys to do what you did? You know what I mean? I don't think that works anymore. You could do that back then. You can't do that now.
No.
Oh, the game has changed, man. You guys remember that movie 40-Year-Old Virgin?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Remember the scene where like they're trying to talk to their buddy, like, hey, listen, what we're gonna do, we go to a bar and we're gonna hit on drunk women and take them home. When you look at that now in 2026, that's an assault charge. That is some sort of, you're going to be in front of a judge if you do that now. But in that time, I was in my 20s with that. Man, I saw it was like what's rape or something like that. Yeah. It's in that time, that's what a lot of guys did. We went to bars talking with women, and then we'd go home with them. And that was the whole purpose of us going to the bar, was to have some drinks. It lowers your inhibitions, and then you get to go home.
Get lucky. Yeah,
you're gonna get lucky. That strategy now, it's, dude, what are you doing? You're gonna end up in handcuffs. She's gonna wake up and say she didn't consent to this, and now you're gonna ruin the rest of your life with this. Or
maybe 40 years later, you'll be president of the United States. Who knows? Go ahead.
Oh, shots fired. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. True. But
Lord,
the things we did, we took for granted. But again, the world has changed, and I'm tying this into Doctor, the question you asked about winter, about what this winter is, if you defined it. And this is more of a comment question for you guys then. You know, when I'm sitting kind of thinking about and processing what you're saying, would you be more comfortable defining it as, I would say it's almost a new segregation. It could be an occupational segregation. We've voluntarily segregated ourselves for certain things. It's this winter, we have separated ourselves from what's important. We have lost contact with one another. And no other time, especially in African-American history, in all the things that we've been through, has anything ever been able to do that to us until now. We've segregated ourselves.
Yeah.
It's an interesting take.
Yeah, well, you know, the internet has the one reason why there's less intimacy across. So this includes both married people, but especially non-married people, because as a general rule, married people have more intimacy time than single people, generally speaking. But this is across the board. The reason why intimacy time is down across the board is because everybody's looking at their screens.
Yep.
And I don't know what the so maybe I could do it this way. Hold on a second, because I don't want to. You got to be real. One thing I've learned about YouTube is you got to be really careful with what you say. So I'll just convey it this way. That right there There's a lot of debate about that. There have been those who have argued that it has had a deleterious effect on the male brain, particularly younger guys, men in general, younger men in particular. And my thing is, and I'm not judging, I think it's fair to say boys will be boys. What you see on, I mean, what woman can compete with that? I mean, you know, rank and file. What woman can compete? Honestly, what rank and file everyday sister can compete with what you see on?
Well, but that goes both ways too, right? Because we talked about we talked about the roles before, right?
Absolutely.
So
no mere mortal man can compete against that. I mean, listen, Doc, you go and do your own independent for research purposes, of course. You do your own independent research. You know what I mean, and look into it for yourself. I mean, that little bugger ain't.
You talking to Dr. L or you talking to me? Which doc?
Okay.
Gotcha. Well, it's funny you're playing that because actually that site is banned in Texas. You can't even get to that site anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I know the music. I was like, dude, I remember that site. Yeah, but that's been banned for like the last couple of years. So a lot of states can't even get access to that anymore. I mean, unless you get like a VPN or something like that.
Well, yeah. And but the point is, because you know, you hear some people say, well, you know, it's not realistic and so on and so forth. Okay, I hear that part, but how do you? I don't know how you get guys from disengaging to that to deal with. I'm not trying to be mean or anything, but to deal with the. I don't understand how you do that because that what you see there. I don't understand it. I don't understand how you do that. I don't know.
I think that's part of the problem of the epidemic of young boys up until the age of 30 or so not wanting to approach. Why? Yeah. I played a video the other day in which a lady really put it very succinctly. She said, why would a man go through the hassle? These are her words of trying to get a woman's phone number, meeting up for dates, buying them coffee, et cetera, and then when you can just go home and put on that music. And I know there's some people in the chat like, what are you playing? Right. So it's music to a particular adult website. So I have been told. I have to say that because Anita
for research purposes.
Yeah, for research.
This is in the interest of science. We're not trying to gutter people. Yeah, we're trying to explore the human phenomenon of this. Like,
so young boys who are growing up are discovering this when they're teenagers or younger, 9, 10,
or younger.
11. They would rather do that. They're becoming socially awkward, as we've already mentioned, going after the screen times, and then next thing you know, they just don't want to do it. They're also sedated by weed and video games and all these dopamine hits from all these different directions. They're like, oh, I'm just going to sit in the house and not do anything for the rest of my life. And
we're Gen Xers, Dr. L. And again, you hear these older gentlemen in our age group and say, oh, these brothers need to go outside and talk these way. Listen, that vignette I shared from my sophomore year in high school, I had a lot of practice, as we used to call it, hollering at women. You could holler at women all day long, but you got a lot of practice in doing that. You can't practice like that now because somebody will say you're harassing them. Yeah. Okay, you're stalking them. So when I hear people say, well, these guys are socially awkward, okay, fair enough. Where are they supposed to practice hollering at women? You and I, in our generation, we would get together. This is going to sound bad. We would get together on the corner, or we would get together, you know what I mean? We would hang out at the burger joint, whatever. We would get together and just holler at the girls for a couple hours straight. And that would give you a lot of practice approaching women. You just shoot your shot. You just keep shooting your shot. You can't do that now because you will get locked up. They got these videos on guys send me this stuff all the time. So on TikTok, there's a whole genre of videos where the young ladies will go in gym attire, wink nod, and they'll go there and act like they're doing something, lifting some kind of weight or on the Stairmaster or what have you. And really what they're doing is they're trying to get the attention of a guy. The guy obviously looks, oh my God, what you looking at? And basically punks him and puts that on TikTok. Now, what guy's going to want to be the subject of that? There's a whole genre of stuff on TikTok. I was shocked. I went and looked up. They actually do it? Yes. So now you're at a point now where guys don't even want to be bothered going to the gym at this point because, you don't know what that young lady is going to, she going to say you trying to, do something to her or what have you. So it's, yes, socially awkward young men. That's true. But where are they supposed to practice their hollering skills? Where are they going to practice? They can't practice at work. They can't practice at school. They can't practice in church. They can't practice in gym. Where are they supposed to practice?
It's interesting how social media has basically conditioned us to either not react to certain things or try to, to avoid them altogether. So when I go to the gym, I do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So Gracie Bauer represent. But when I do go to the gym with my friends, when I look at the guys, I've noticed that they have trained themselves because women will be dressed in some kind of attire that's not really gym attire, but they have trained themselves to either stare off into a distance, look up, look away. As soon as they even think she's about to bend down and get a weight, I'm looking at the guy to see what he's going to look at. And sure enough, they have averted their eyes to something else. And I actually seen a couple times guys look around because they're looking for the camera to see if they're being filmed at that moment, because there's so many videos of seeing talking about that phenomenon. We have literally trained ourselves out of a normal human interaction.
Yeah,
there's got to be some kind of reset coming. There's got to be some type of reset coming where people are going to say enough of this and just go outside and start doing everything you're used to doing. And somebody brought up the high school. Why are they talking in high school? You can't talk to a girl.
Oh no, Me Too. We all know this. Me Too was started by a black woman, Tarana Burke. We all know this. Her intent was to spark a conversation about Black women and girls being predated upon in the Black community. As per usual, Miss Ann came along and kind of hijacked it, and it moved from the streets, if you will, in the Black community to the workplace. So it became a sexual harassment 2.0 type of thing. Well, I don't know if anybody here is aware, because I was real curious. I said, I wonder what happened in the wake of Me Too. Has there been any changes? There has been, but nobody looked at the Black side of it. Did you know that pre-Me Too, one of the biggest three ways that Black couples met was at work? Did you know that? And after Me Too, that plummeted. Yeah. Which is really ironic when you think about it, because Tarana Burke created Me Too, and Me Too actually has contributed to fewer Black couples meeting at work. Now, what does this have to do with high school? It's been recorded, documented, that Me Too has had an effect at the high school level, not just at the college level, but now at the high school level. There are fewer proms now. Or let me put it this way. There are fewer high school kids going to prom now than there were before Me Too. And one of the main reasons, the pandemic played a role, but one of the main reasons why a lot of younger guys have reported they didn't want to take a chance on getting Me Too.
Wow. Okay, I gotta find that research. You send me that. That's definitely interesting. That's definitely interesting. Wow, that's a shame.
For a guy like me back in the day, if I was operating today, I'd probably get locked up or get embarrassed. Look at this guy look at what he's doing there. I'm not. Look, listen. They had biker shorts back then. The thing to wear back then was bike. I know you remember this, Doc. The thing to wear back then was biker shorts, right? That was the trend back then. So if they had the yoga pants and all, I'm looking. Okay, you put that in my line of sight. I'm looking at it. Okay, I'm not gonna act like I didn't see. Yeah, I'm looking right at you. Yes, you over there. Yes, I'm looking at you. I'm not gonna change that. I'm gonna, how. But see, I understand if I operate like that now, I'm likely to get either locked up or put on blast on TikTok, so on and so forth. So I all of that to say, I have a great empathy for these younger brothers, because they're operating in a completely different world than the world that you and I operated in, Dr. L. They operate in a completely different ecosystem than what we operated in.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Was there another big point? I know I wanted to be respectful of everybody's time. We've been on for almost 2 hours. Another big point, or you guys want to just call it for tonight? We can always pick this up another time.
Yeah, I was definitely going to say, I think we've only gone through a third of this, but we definitely need a part 2 to this one. So yeah, because I'm like, I got some stuff I got to do tonight as well. But this has been awesome talking with you, brothers and sisters. I love the conversation. The work that CC and I have done, again, you have to kind of say in hushed breaths, because if you mention Kevin Samuel's name in some circles, that's a trip to HR office.
Wow, are you kidding me?
No, sir, I am not. No, sir, I am.
I mean, so that we're clear. Well, you're not like, oh man, Kevin Samuel's the man, and so you're not saying that. You're just simply saying, well, we're looking into the research dimensions of this phenomenon that Kevin Samuels was associated with. That still can get you in trouble with HR,
depending on the context of the situation. However, if you are mentioning Kevin Samuels or if you're a man mentioning it in a positive light, and your female coworkers hear you talk about that, yes, that is a trip to HR. If you're talking about some scientific study about Kevin Samuels, then maybe not. Depends on what part of the conversation they come in on. So, with HR, it's you and I can tell a joke. You don't have to be the one that's offended by it. A person who overheard the joke can be the one who's offended, and that gets us both kind of ridden up. Now with jobs so hard to come by, I think one of the people in the chat said, "Hey, I'm not going to risk my $180,000 job to hit on my coworker.
Yeah,
I'd rather just keep making money and living life, and maybe or maybe not find someone out in the wild." But Kevin Samuels is one of those kind of controversial topics that still rubs a lot. I mean, I've gotten some arguments. I didn't argue there with me. I sent the paper to some female friends of mine, and I got an earful from one of them. And hey, I love her to death. She's still a good friend of mine, but she thought we were too hard on Black women.
Oh boy.
But when I asked her, like, where in the paper did you find that? She couldn't really point to anything. So I think there was a little projection going on there.
Yeah. Wow.
That's just terrible. Yeah, that's definitely a shame and deep, and that's a whole nother thing that needs to be explored in and of itself. I want to wrap up. I know that Anita had to go. I'll give you a chance to give your final thoughts and where people can find you at, etc.
We did not get to a place later in the video that I wanted to discuss. And I just wanted to pull up my note, but I guess my question was, he wanted women to fight. He said, stop focusing on the vocal minority or the entitled perspectives, and instead they need to get to work to fight for the families and partnerships they say they desire. So I guess my question for you gentlemen is, are we going to see this happen? Do we see, even if it's a minority of women, do we see women willing to fight for marriage and family? I see quite the opposite. And for me, it's always been an issue of humility. Are women willing to be humble? That's what I see as a lot of their sticking point, that they live in this delusional mindset, and to be able to come together with another human being, to be able to work together and collaborate together requires a level of humility. It requires, that ego being in the back seat or the trunk of your car. And do we see that happening now? I think that's realistic.
I'm inclined to agree with you, Miss Anita, that I can count the number of Black women that are fit the description that you just said. I might be able to eke out 2 hands, and it doesn't really go beyond that. Maybe two hands, maybe. Beyond that, no.
There's a question on here. I don't know how much time you have, but these are questions I wanted to get to.
Yeah,
we spent a lot of time talking. Miss Anita, can you take a stab at this? Kevin Samuels evokes pain in Black women. I wish we explored why. And that was one of the questions I did send you as to what. I forget how I phrased it, but what if you have time? If not, we can explore it another time. We said we were going to come back.
I said, anyone who destroys the delusion, right? Anyone that dares to challenge the delusion in Black women's mind is going to evoke pain, right? And they want to live in this delusional mindset. They want to believe that all of them are 10s. They want to believe that they all deserve a high value man. So I don't think it's just Kevin. I think it's anyone who is speaking the truth. Anyone who, I just told a 40-year-old client today, I said, sweetheart, your options at 40 are not your options at 20. And that will get me hated. And it is true. They really want to believe that they have all the options in the world at 40. So anyone who was bold enough to speak the truth to them, it's like that cognitive dissonance. Like, okay, I believe I'm a 10 and you're splashing this cold water on me and telling me that I'm a 2 or I'm average at best. They're going to hate all of that. Thomas Sowell said that if you really care about people, you're going to tell them the truth. But if you care about doing what's best for you, so if you care about doing what's best for people, you're going to tell them the truth. And if you care about doing what's best for you, you're going to tell them what they want to hear.
And I actually know people in the Black love space. I know 2 brothers in particular. One of them I can say publicly because he said it publicly. Ace Metaphor. I did an interview with him 3 years ago, and this is a brother that goes to the gym religiously every day, according to him. I'm no gym rat, but he goes to the gym every day, lifts heavy weights, the whole bit. He said flat out he's not going to discuss the weight issue with Black women, period.
Ooh.
He just said it flat out. He's not going to do it. Now, I know another brother, I'm not going to mention his name because he told me in confidence. He's also very popular with the ladies, and he clearly is in shape. He told me 10 years ago he's not going to discuss it. So my point being is that the Black love business, and it is a business, and they make a lot of money. Yep. It's about not telling the ladies what they want to hear. Matter of fact, I talked about this in this is the second book I wrote, the book of Obsidian, the ladies edition. The very first chapter is called The Formula. I'll send you a copy of this, Miss Anita. I think you will enjoy it. Yeah. It's called The Formula. There's a formula to this, and part of the formula is that you don't talk about these things with the ladies.
All right, very good. I want to give so where can people find you at? And was that your final comment there, Anita?
Yeah,
I want to be respectful of everybody's time.
Yep, that was my final comment. So I am Better Love Movement on all the platforms, and I have a YouTube channel. I have an Instagram platform, Facebook. I am betterlovemovement.com if ever you want to work together for singles and for couples.
Very good. Thank you. Dr. Kelly.
Sir. Final thoughts. Again, this was fantastic. I knew this is going to go long, but again, there's so much meat on this bone that we haven't even yet begun to get to the bone yet. So we're only a third of the way through. We haven't even talked about the conversations he had with other people. So there was so much we could still get to. So I look forward to that another time. I don't have a YouTube channel. I don't have any of that kind of stuff. If you want to reach out, you can definitely find me on LinkedIn, just Damian Kelly, and maybe a couple of my credentials at the very end of that. But that's really it. I am that guy that doesn't own a boat, but I will take a 6-pack of beer to your boat, and I will enjoy your boat with you. And that's what I'm doing here. I just have my 6-pack, and we just about finished it. So now it's time for me to go.
I appreciate you. We're definitely going to try to do this again, maybe in a month or so, we'll find out time. We'll definitely have to have this again. Obsidian, brother.
Yes, you can find me. I'm over on Rumble. All you gotta do is just look for my name. I'm all over social media. Mumia Obsidian Ali. Just Google my name. You know, I Googled myself about a year ago. I was just curious. I just started, typing in my name, and the autocomplete said Mumia Obsidian Ali author. I was like, dang.
Nice.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. So yeah, all you gotta do is just type in my name. You'll find me all over social media. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Rumble, and I appear here on YouTube as a guest now. And the reason why I'm no longer on YouTube is in this book, Toxic Femininity: The Black Man's Guide to Modern Black Feminism. I explain all that. And I'm also on with Jeff St. James, Dave Anderson, and Darwin McPherson Wednesdays, 8:30 p.m. So we'll be on tomorrow. We're going to be talking about the events in Shreveport and Virginia. We're going to be talking about that. It's called The Men's Table over on Ask a Brother podcast. So you can catch me over there every week.
Awesome.
Yeah, Jeff is doing it. The men's table, the ladies' table, y'all doing it. All right, thank you guys so much for checking out the show. I want to be respectful of the guests. I could go, another hour or so, but I won't. So thank you guys so much. We'll do this again. I think I got one more. Let's see. Chat here from Micah Malice. $2. Women have until GTA 6 drops. After that, good luck. I could never get into GTA. I don't know.
I was never a big video game person myself, but they're damn near lifelike now. I remember when they had asteroids and stuff like that. Now they got like really lifelike games, so I can understand why younger guys and even some guys that are not so young can really get immersed in this stuff. Because when you got that type of what they call it, Call of Duty, and they got the Grand Theft Auto, which you just talked about, GTA, Grand Theft Auto, and they got these other types of sword and sand fantasy games, and then you go and you switch over to the it's hard. That's hard. That's some hard stuff to beat.
Yeah, those games are really beautiful now. I'm Gen X like you guys, so I think the games I got into, I was into Halo in the early 2000s. I did used to play Rainbow Six and those Black Ops games, but I honestly got tired of shooting people who look like me. That always left me kind of weird. Like those games, you're fighting brown-skinned minorities or Russians. And I'm like, why am I training to kill people who look like I do? So I switched to Halo and just was happy shooting aliens. There you go.
All right, y'all. Thank you so much to the chat. Take care. I will see you guys later. Much love and peace.
God bless you guys. Good night.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you so much.
God bless you.